So actually, I wanted to just take a minute to introduce City Manager Deborah Campbell. She and Commissioner Chief White are here. They do have to run for the pandemic, but they want to come here to introduce the chief and give you a quick update. So, City Manager.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you mind if I come up front?
Of course.
Thanks. So thank you. We apologize for having to rush off. But I did want to come and give you just a quick update on the search process for our new chief of police. Also to express that we're very disappointed that we were not able to retain Chief Chris Bailey longer than we did. But that was his decision, and we are now moving forward and have an interim chief of police, Robert White, and I'm just going to ask him to join me. And then we are sequentially doing the search process for the new chief of police. Essentially, we're in the process right now, and we will hopefully be through with the process by December, and hopefully have an announcement at the latest, late December, have this person start early January or February. We'll provide a whole lot more details because we're working with the Police Executive Research Forum, the same organization that helped us with the earlier recruitment. That's actually how I got an opportunity to meet Chief White. Through that process, he helped us with the recruitment process for Chris Bailey. So with that, I'm going to ask the chief if he wants to say a few words.
Sure. Good evening again. I, like the manager, apologize. I'm sitting in I don't even have a jacket. So I asked him if it's okay. I didn't bring my jacket. I was sitting at my desk preparing for another meeting, and I was reminded of the CPAC meeting. So I thought it would be remiss of me not to come by and at least introduce myself and tell you, having the opportunity to work around the country in a lot of departments. I have a great appreciation for citizens who volunteer themselves working in our community, particularly as it relates to police. Yeah, I have a special relationship with the police that you can imagine. So I want to thank you for what you do, and also look forward to having the opportunity to come back and certainly spend more time with you and share from your perspective what you want me to know as it relates to what we're doing and what you're doing, and certainly share with you from my perspective as it relates to where we are on the department and where we're going to go. So again, thank you, and again, I certainly apologize for not spending more time here prior to other commitments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. So starting in the west, first off, the whole theme of today is that there's a seasonal downturn. Every region across the city is experiencing at least a 20% reduction in criminal activity, which is what we expect when we continue to see as we get towards the end of the year. Beginning in the west, there was 51 fewer crimes than last month, with an 18% reduction, particularly burglary, theft, and motor vehicle activities are down. We've seen a slight increase in retail crime, shoplifting, and fraud. Violent crime concentration, as seen by the map, is in and around Piscoview. There was a gunshot victim inside of the complex, and the further gunshot north of that on Hanover Street. We have seen a recent increase in gun violence citywide, but we countered that. We've seen a decrease in violent crime that does not involve firearms, particularly domestic crime. Deeperview also had two gun-related incidents, one that happened in the complex, one that happened just north of it, and then commercial burglary on Haywood Road. There was a firearm involved commercial burglary. As far as property crime concentration, the residential area adjacent to the Haywood Road, particularly around Fletcher, primarily vehicular crime and residential burglary. There was 33 incidents within that hot spot that you see there on the map. And also we're seeing increase of activity around French Broad River Park. Usually we do see a lot of Carvanies at Carrier Park and French Broad River Park on Amboy Road. We haven't seen a lot this year, but there has been a strange uptick just in the last month. For the north, 19% reduction, 14 fewer than last month. We're down in theft and stolen were up and simple assaults. Violent concentration has been in the southernmost portion of Montfort at 5 points and Hillcrest. We had the murder of Leon White Jr. in Hillcrest, and then mostly assaults around Cherry Street and up along Merriman. The property concentration has been heavily in 5 points, particularly burglary and theft. And the concentration you see there was 4 residential burglaries. We have had 2 offenders arrested in relation to that activity, so hopefully we'll see a reduction. As for Central, 19% reduction, 35 fewer than last month. Down is commercial burglary, motor vehicle beatings, and assaults. Up is stolen vehicles and theft. As per usual, our concentration both for violent and property crime are downtown. For violent crime, it's mostly north of College Street, mostly simple assaults. And for property crime, it's in 2 concentrations: Pritchard Park, which is mostly vandalism and theft, and the Biltmore Ave, between Biltmore Ave and Lexington Ave South, Aston Street. That's primarily a vehicular crime that extends down into South Slope. For East Asheville, 98 fewer than last month, and just as the table that is on your handout, and refer to the one that's on the slide, and the one that's going to be posted on the website is correct, that the numbers got shifted up on that handout. But everything is down in East aside from the one arson we had that we didn't have last month. Violent crime concentration is along North Tunnel Road, with robbery and assault. In the east, you see a small little pocket. There's a few assaults there. Most of those are between the same individuals, having conflict with one another. As for property crime, it's South Tunnel Road and then over to Swananoa River Road, particularly those apartments that are adjacent to the Walmart around there. And all of that is vehicular crime with a mix of theft. And then finally for South, 19% reduction, 25 fewer. Theft and motor vehicle beatings are down, while residential burglary, aggravated assault, and shoplifting is up. Violent crime is concentrated around Ascot Point. You see that density there. It's assaults and then 1 peeping Tom incident. We also had property crime there, 2 motorcycles stolen, so a lot of activity in that one spot. But as far as the heaviest concentration of property crime, it is just south of the Blue Ridge Parkway along Hendersonville Road. There is a high concentration of vehicular crimes, mostly beatings. Any other questions?
I have a question. Why would there be a seasonal reduction in crime?
It happens in every city. That's a bigger question. Like, one of the things we'll study for like false correlation is that, I don't know what else.
Our job is to investigate these events from every possible angle so we can prevent their recurrence. So we appreciate it if you'd like a bit more.
But usually we say, like, we see a correlation between the number of ice cream sales and crime, and therefore ice cream sales causes crime. That's the false correlation. That's the example they give in the schoolhouse. But we always see it during the summertime, a high increase. And part of that is accessibility, more people out, more tourists. But
I think fall would be a big tourist time too.
It's just that in every city, everywhere, it's always goes up in the summer, of course, and it'll be cooler.
So this is very typical.
What we will see is an increase, what we will, and we'll push this out over the next month to 60 days, is property crime related to package theft. We see a lot of that. There's particular regions that we're going to be focused on handing out pamphlets to the former residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Doug, I noticed that the shoplifting crimes went like this. I assume that's because school's back in session. And the other thing, would it be possible to just have the combined data sheet? No, I'm not interested in the interesting stuff on the left, but for all of Asheville, in other words, just do you're saying categories, but what would be the numbers for Asheville?
Oh, overall citywide?
Right, in other words, a citywide sort of cover sheet.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Yeah, add an additional side.
Okay, thank you.
One thing that some of the reduction in shoplifting, some of the what I call box sorting policies.
especially during spring, summertime, people, like vehicle break-ins, things along those lines, people are getting out, going to the park, they're leaving the car, they're going walking, they're leaving their doors unsecured, they're leaving the windows open to the house. So the seasonal change in crime, we see that also when the weather changes, we do tend to see B&Es of vehicles or B&E residences that are left unsecured. So that's another example of the seasonal change in crime also.
And if I may again,
Yes.
here, just last month, there was a request to include some operational notes, based on CompStat to Douglas's report. So, Douglas was out ill, a few days, so I didn't get an opportunity to sit with him and go over that, plus CompStat was just today. But we will look to see if we can incorporate some of that, moving forward in the next meeting.
Awesome, thank you, Jerry. Any other questions or concerns, y'all? Okay. Doug, thank you very much, appreciate that. Can you briefly talk about the transportation side? It's a brief update.
Sure. Right now, it doesn't have much movement, but the next boards and commissions meeting, I'll go ahead and suggest that we supply all boards and commissions with that and see if we can go ahead and just move forward with it from there.
Thank you, Keith, appreciate that. Any other questions for Keith or anything? Good. All right, so mediation proposal, that's kind of been on the back burner for a while. That kind of goes to when I'm doing HRCA, to be honest with you all, so I'll mention that when I talk about HRCA. It's kind of a whole thing. And then, Kat, we do that, do you want to talk about the written consent policy?
Yes, Rick sent, young man Chief White, he is in his second full day and he's been doing long hours. He's been meeting, with members of the police department, in the roll call last few days. With that, he is letting all the officers know that the written consent moving forward, that is his first priority. So he's got some things he's wanting to work on that. He's wanting to, have a chance for him to put some information into it, and a couple things he wants staff to follow up on. But that is something that will be moving full steam ahead with Chief White, and hopefully we'll see some progress in the next 30 to 45 days.
Thank you. Yeah. Any questions for Kat? Okay, and then task forces, I know that's kind of been up in the air too, to be honest with you all. I think Jerry, you work with Robert on.
Yeah, we met this
You
month.
want to talk about what you guys talked about?
Sure, yeah.
Go for it.
So I know Robert Cooper's not here at this meeting, it looks like, but we did meet earlier this month just to talk about like an outreach task force, which has kind of been in the works for a little while, or at least some discussions around that. So Robert and I sat down just to try to set some initial goals around that, and some of the goals that we discussed were, just trying to invite other community partners and organizations and groups to this meeting, and if they are not able to come or aren't comfortable coming for whatever reason, if they could at least provide some feedback or some questions to be asked and to be brought to the meeting on their behalf. So reaching out to lots of different organizations, we kind of came up with a list of several, like YMI, Asheville Black Lives Matter, Steady Collective, YWCA, just to name a few. I'm struggling to remember everybody else who was on that list off the top of my head, and should have brought it, but maybe I did. And we thought, a good goal would be to invite like 6 groups or community partners a year, so that would be like one every other month is a realistic starting goal. If that increases eventually, great. If 6 works, great. And then also finding some other smaller ways to get to do outreach in the community, whether that's us joining the Coffee with the Cop thing that's already happening, or doing some other small events. I think to be realistic, we don't always have the highest attendance here, so I think trying to create a really big event for community outreach might not be where we're at right now, but finding ways where we can start to get out into the community more and get the word out to different groups and really do some outreach. I also spoke with a coworker of mine who's on the HRCA, and they have adopted like an outreach framework that she sent to me that I've also kind of been reviewing, and I think that framework is also something that we wouldn't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel to implement a similar framework here. So that's kind of the gist of what we talked about to get started off on getting some more concrete things going. And we can get the full list that Robert and I came up with of other community partners out to this whole group so that y'all can add anyone we forgot about, and then we can kind of start reaching out to some folks. And we're hoping to invite a community partner to the next meeting to have some questions or feedback during public comment. Kind of work.
Thank you, Jared. And I think the other task force is kind of up in the air too, to be honest with you all. Yeah, there's been a lot of shifting, movement of council members. I don't know, were there any other task force you had in the works? I really don't think there were. So I don't think there are any other task force in the works, you know. That can change as far as, and I'll kind of segue into working with HRCA. So I had a really good meeting with Tiffany, the chair of HRCA. That went really well. Keith was there, as well as Mia, their secretary. And we have kind of decided to move forward with working with HRCA. They have a great organization. I went to the meeting a couple months ago. Thought it was fantastically well run. They have a lot of resources that we could use at our disposal as well. So I want to talk to you, tell you guys I met with her, and I plan on meeting, this involves a mediation proposal as well. I plan on meeting with the city attorney tomorrow with Tiffany as well, so we can kind of go over realistically what can we actually accomplish with this mediation. It's because HRCA actually they have a lot of overlapping goals with what we have on the policing side of things, and the public reach out side of things as well. So I think working with them will be very fruitful for us. And I'll report, we have the meeting tomorrow afternoon, so I'll report back to y'all how it goes. So I just want to give you a heads up, I think, because we're kind of looking for a direction. I think we're kind of stalling, kind of pounding water for a few months, but now we have a really good group of people here, we're static. I think it's a good opportunity to move forward, working with HRCA. So that's what that is my thought process. Do you guys have any questions for me on that?
I do. How many members are there?
They have more, I think.
It's about 13 right now.
About 13.
Is that?
About 13. And I think in the end game, I thought to think about this too, is to have a joint meeting between all of our groups. So their group and our group together. It'll be a big community outreach meeting, and they get a lot of people to meet. So
Sounds great.
They have a great time. So we can have a group together, we can all meet together, and then kind of go from there. That sound good to you all? On that. So I'll update you guys on a meeting tomorrow with the city attorney.
I have a point of discussion, I can hold it off until new business if you like, but
No, it's fine.
it's a spin-off of what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
I think my concern, I'm new to the board, and I've been hearing that with HRCA and what have you been to their meetings, have you been to these meetings? And hearing what we do, what they do, and some of the overlap. And also some mention was made of, there has been discussion of CPAC being dissolved. I'd like to raise for discussion, since you will be having this meeting tomorrow, the possibility of us making a motion to dissolve ourselves.
I don't think we should do that, to be honest with you.
I'm just raising it for discussion.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, my opinion is, they have a lot of things going on at HRCA. They would like us to help on the policing side of things, the public side of things as well. So we can be the spear for them on some other programs.
But can we do that inside them as opposed to being freestanding since we're a committee and not a commission?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility of that, but I'd rather keep us together. You know what I mean? I'd rather not just be involved in them, because it probably wouldn't be them doing it. You know what I mean? But I think we have a lot to offer. We're finally as a group together consistently. So I think we should just move forward with moving the HRCA. And thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just want to put it on the.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just also from the last HRCA meeting, they collectively voted to work with this group as well. So just wanted to pass that along. So that group has also made a commitment to work with CPAC.
Yeah, so we have Tiffany's very good, it's very nice. They have really good groups there. I think we do really well. So we should thank you for that concern. And then any other questions for me on that at all? HRCA, it's still very fluid. It's beginning stages of it all, but I think we have a good first step. Okay, but I'll keep you all updated on that. No problem. So now with the CPAC community meeting in November, I think we have Trinity Church, Julie, is that correct? You reach out to them, you can still update on that. I think you reach out to them, we're waiting to see.
I called Trinity Methodist.
2nd, officers from the New Orleans Police Department, 2 officers came up, conducted a 2-day training. We had 15 Asheville Police Department employees who were trained in the EPIC trainer program. And these instructors, when they came up from New Orleans, have that's their sole job from New Orleans Police Department. Now they travel across other departments across the nation to implement this program. In the past, I know the members of the committee have asked about the curriculum. And if you go to epic.nola.gov, that's EPIC, and that's New Orleans, Louisiana government, NOLA.gov. The curriculum is available there for you to see. And we've already got 2 classes scheduled, at the end of October, 28th and 29th, I believe, and I am going along with 2 of the other captains. I think one's going on 28th, and 2 captains going on 29th, so we're leading the charge to get it done, so that's the epic update.
That's great, thank you, sir. Any more questions for the captain?
I have a question. Will all officers get the training from the 15 trainers, like across the board, every officer in
We're actually, we'll be doing this training, we went ahead and got the 2-day schedule because there were dates we wanted to go ahead and get the trainers a time to change, or time to prepare the class, but then also, several of us felt that we needed to be going to the class first, to set the tone for the rest of the agency. So with that, they'll be, setting up additional training classes for this, and you will see additional officers who will be trained, and basically every officer in the department will be trained in that, in every new hire.
That was my follow-up question. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Any other questions? All good? All right. So, concerns, complaints, and recommendations. So, a lot of the times, y'all, we have situations where there's issues that we want to talk about here. We find, community policing actions that happen.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yeah.
Christine's pointed out to me, we're gonna do this department-wide, we're gonna do this for all employees, not just, sworn officers, but all of us.
Okay. So then if y'all see anything like in communities that, bad policing or good policing, see like accommodations and good things that happen and bad things, it would be helpful if you can send that information to either me or Jerry, to give the opportunity for Captain Kudak to look at it, research it, and be able to respond. There's a lot of situations you guys bring up really good information, but it's hard for the captain to respond because he doesn't know much about it. So if you could, again, it's spending the time to find things out, but if you can either forward it to me or Jerry, that way we get the captain to do that and he can have responses for us at the next meeting. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah.
And that's good and bad. So if you get policing too, please, forward that information to us too, okay? This is get the response on the captain who had. So I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Regional
just like to say, good afternoon. I belong to HRCA, and there is a commitment to collaborate with you. And I say, why stop here? Because if you look at the city staff and all the committees, there's a lot of redundancy, a lot of overlap. Why not go after all of it at one time? That's what my comment.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Next up.
Michael Beach.
I'm Mike Beach from the United Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And I'm outside the system that we talk about here. So my comments have to be taken with that in perspective. I'm really concerned about the failure in the process of hiring the chief. It seems to me there was a failure on part of the vetting organization, or on part of the city manager, or both, or on part of Chief Bailey for not being open and honest in an interview. My primary concern is, how is it possible that we would hire a chief that had an incident of domestic violence in his past? It just seems unconscionable that we would do something like that. My other thought is, how can we trust that vetting organization to rehire them right away after there was this failure of apparently passing information concerning the actual background of the individual that they put forward as one of the top selections? I would like to have some indication from the city that they're going to be smarter in hiring the next chief and not go with someone who has a history of violence in their background. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Thank you.
Here's a quick answer to that. How did that happen?
Now we're not responding to that.
Now, it's-
Next. Well, we're not supposed to be responding. But we can have, I'd rather let the captain digest that, to be honest, that's a can of worms.
And with that, that'd be the city manager's office.
Yeah, that's, thank you, I appreciate it. Next.
I'll add to the list.
Yeah, so
I
man,
need to sign.
you can leave us on, you can stand.
Thank you.
My name is Dee Williams, and I'm chairman of the NAACP Criminal Justice Reform. And I just want to thank HRCA, I want to thank Councilman Young, and also the city manager, who pretty much marshaled and Councilman Young to a written consent. It's been a long 3-year drudge through the process. This is how change happens, but I want to just thank all of them. And let me just say, I also want to just thank folks who are not in the room too. We have Mary Ann Newman here, who is also a member of the NAACP Criminal Justice Committee. And with that, I look forward to working not only to implement this policy with the chief, the interim chief, Robert White. It was a pleasure to meet him today. But also to put with that the one for pedestrians. This is incremental change. There was a lot of people who said we weren't going to get this done because a lot of things haven't been done in Asheville. But I want to say one thing. The data is what saved us. The absolute data is what saved us, and we'll stand by it, and we'll continue to defend it and our other decisions based on that. And the fact that we want to save lives. We not only want to save the lives of folks who are marginalized in our communities, but also of our police officers as well, because that force belongs to us as well. I don't want to address directly any points anybody had. I really would like to talk about the fact that there were 22 students who were suspended the last week and a half or so at Asheville Middle School. I was called by the father first of one of the students, and then the mother called me at night. These students, of course, were in violation of the student handbook policy about not only fighting, but watching fights. That's there. Poor judgment. I agree with the punishment of suspending them out of school. They were told, and Officer Goudat Captain Duran, that charges would be filed against them, criminal charges for misdemeanors. For these kids who are 12 and 13 years old, this puts them into the criminal justice pipeline. So I'm certainly hoping that restorative justice or something can be done, since it was extended to a police officer who beat Johnny Rush, and that would be a question for the district attorney. The other part of it is, even if that is done, what they've been told by the administration is, and the parents, is that they're going to be segregated from the rest of the student body from eating breakfast. Now, I understand there's a great safety concern and lack of supervision at that hour, and perhaps some of us who are in the community, even if we have to volunteer, you know, when you are segregated like that, there's a stigma. You got that population of kids who were fighting each other from Pisgah View and Hillcrest. This was sort of like a melee, if you will, and 22 expulsions. They weren't expelled, but suspensions, and they're back in school. But they can't eat breakfast without being separated from the body of students. I went to Asheville High. I'm an Asheville High School graduate and the first black valedictorian at Asheville High. And and the former high school teacher there. So I do have some investment. So I'd be happy to work with anybody. I've been talking with the city manager and the superintendents, not only about that. It doesn't do any good for us to grandstand and point the finger at each other. We don't solve much. So I invite everybody to try to work with me as we work with these families. Not only, and I don't want to see the police department put in a situation of being social workers either. That problem belongs to all of us. So we need to get to work, and if you will, I'm happy to work with you. Can you put the NAACP down as a partner on your list? So that's all I have to say, and I'm looking forward to work with anybody and everybody in solving our problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I appreciate and truly understand the limitations on the stages and public comment. What is not clear to me is how CPAC as a body intends to engage in discussion with members of the community. I specifically requested at the last meeting that you invite to this meeting the city attorney, so that there can be some more open discussion about the mediation proposal. We as a community, as a city, as a police department talk about transparency. I'm concerned that there's going to be less transparency with more formality in the functioning. Again, I respect rules, regulations, procedures, but I'm also respectful for open discussion and exchange, and given some effort to have a more substantive role for CPAC or the Human Relations Commission, and a number of us have looked at mediation. How do you intend to go forward in a way that is more open, more engaging with regard to what that looks like, what the potential is, and how, again, can you invite the voice of the legal department of the city to be part of an open process?
I'll respond quickly, and that's what I'm working on now. The meeting is preliminary with him, but I plan on having a meeting with everyone here. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to take those steps now to get to that level, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's a very good comment, but we're working on that now. Thank you.
Chair. Yes, just real quickly in response to just give some updated information to a comment that Ms. Williams made about youth in the criminal justice system. I've been working myself with a group of individuals spearheaded by Chief District Court Judge Calvin Hill for a school justice partnership for Buncombe County, and I'd just like to read the first paragraph of a letter I received from our Chief District Court Judge last month. The year 2020 will bring a substantial change to the way we deal with 16 and 17-year-olds in our criminal justice system in North Carolina. We recently became the state in the union, the last state in the union to agree that 16 and 17-year-olds should not be treated as adults in the adult criminal justice system. These children will be treated as children. Bear with me, it's kind of small on my phone, I'm trying to blow it up here. and have their cases processed in the juvenile system when all other efforts fail. Our court systems, law enforcement, and schools across the state are coming to the conclusion that students are harmed by even the slightest contact with our courts. While there will inevitably be some students who will require court action, systems across North Carolina and the nation are all making efforts to reduce student involvement with courts unless absolutely necessary. In keeping with these efforts, Buncombe County, through the courts, schools, and law enforcement, is developing a school justice partnership, and we need your input and participation. It's a very long letter. I'm assuming that there are some folks that are being convened or whatever, but I just wanted to say that with that law change, that hopefully the thought of having these individuals, these young individuals, minority individuals, black individuals, all of our kids enter the criminal justice system is not what we want. And so hopefully that will pan out, and I'll be more than happy to keep people abreast of what's going on with that as I work down that path in our criminal justice system.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any other public comment? Sorry.
That's okay. With the 22 students, it is a conversation we did have with the city manager. 22 students, there are several students that have been referred to juvenile, Department of Juvenile Justice or juvenile justice to follow up to see if this program can bring juvenile petitions against them. While the majority of the students were involved, we've done diversion into prosecution. So I don't know where the information came from that they were all going to be charged. That is not the case. And I know how sometimes things take off, but we are working with the school system. Majority of the students, I think, were suspended, and then there are some that we defer prosecution where they'll go into the program the school has entered into a partnership with. There's various things that help the juveniles. And even though some of the other students are going into the juvenile justice system, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will actually go to court. There's a lot of different programs that they do have that can also assist the juveniles who are involved in this without actually putting them in the court system, but at a lower level, possibly at the juvenile level. So we are working with the school systems on that, and I'll have to go back and look again, but I don't think anybody has actually received any charges on this at this time.
Thank you, Chief, for that clarification, appreciate that. Any other public comment?
Just for your information, there's a group called Chosen, who's at Asheville Middle School today, meeting with children. Ones that came back after the